Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host, as always, Krabby Terror 8, and here we are in part 33, I think, of the Investigator game Season 1, The Gathering, with everybody's favourite sailor, Silas Marsh. Ha-ha, my hearties. Yes, so for those of you who are new to the channel, I welcome you and welcome you to the Investigator games. If you don't know what the Investigator games are, think of it a bit like a league, I suppose, something like that. So what we do is we take each investigator true solo and we put them through a scenario. So in Season 1 it's The Gathering, in Season 2, which I've done some of and going back to, is Midnight Masks, and then we'll do The Devourer Below. And as we go through, we score the investigators, how they've performed, and we put them in a league table like this one. And there they all are ranked from top to bottom. Some have done better than others. You can see poor old Calvin languishing down there at the bottom. Was that any surprise? Really? The other point is that we use their Fantasy Flight games official starter decks as well. So to play, which is just so that everybody's sort of on an equal footing, I suppose. So that's what we do, and we are just mopping up the final investigators. We've just finished doing all of the Dream Eater investigators, who did reasonably well. And we're now doing Silas Marsh and Norman Withers, who I didn't believe had starter decks, and they don't have official Fantasy Flight game starter decks in the actual official guide. But there is a starter deck for each of them associated with their cards in Tabletop Simulator. So we thought we would use that instead. They seem to be a bit more optimized than what you would expect from a normal starter deck, but let's do them anyway. It's nice to have all of the investigators done. So before we get into Silas Marsh's deck per se, let's just have a look at his card. And I've never played Silas before, so I'm very interested to play him. He's very popular, though. I also am involved in the League of Extraordinary Investigators, and he's certainly featured there. He's a popular card, and I can see why, because his special abilities are quite attractive. A couple of things about him. First of all, his stat line is quite polarized, you might say. He's got two good stats, which are his agility and his strength. So he's very good at fighting and evading. So obviously they can be used to good measure, either to evade something and then whack it around the head a bit without fear of retaliation, or just straight up fight or evade. However, as a counterpoint, his willpower and his intellect are really below par, with only 2 for each. So he's a very polarized figure from that perspective. I'm trying to remember, there's so many of these investigators, but it is unusual, there may be others I don't know, that having high fight and high agility at the same time, it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but in a way it's there's a bit of redundancy built in there, at least from my perspective, because this is usually the way that I would play, is that you're playing with a high agility or higher agility investigator who tends to have higher intellect, something like that, and so you're a kind of an evader. You're evading enemies and looking for clues and trying to get through the scenario reasonably quickly. Or you have high fight, but reasonably low evasion, and in those cases, you're a fighter, so you actually actively engage and kill enemies and make your way through the scenario perhaps a bit more slower, because your intellect might not be as high. So this is a little bit different in that sense. So the hard thing for Silas is getting clues and passing willpower tests through the encounter deck. That's really a little bit problematic, particularly when you look at his physical and mental strength. He's got huge physical strength with 9. I don't know if there's any others with physical strength that high, but that's massive. But his mental strength is really on the low side at only 5. So he's, immediately you can see, and spoilers, if you haven't played Arkham Horror, the card game, and you haven't played The Gathering before, I would recommend that you do that first, because I'm assuming you know the game reasonably well. Something like a Rotting Remains is really bad news for Silas, because he has low willpower. He can quite easily, with a couple of Rotting Remains, find himself finished in this game. So you've really got to manage that really quite aggressively to make sure he gets through. So there we go. Leave your fears on the docks, lads. Which is a great. I love that. Leave your fears on the docks. However, it's kind of a little bit paradoxical with his 5 mental agility, because he's a little bit on the edge, Silas Marsh, you have to say. So he's quite polarized in that way as well, in that high-low. So he's a very high-low kind of investigator. I guess he's a survivor. Now, his special ability and his Elder Sign ability are really quite nice. So he's got this reaction ability that after you reveal a Chaos token during a skill test, you can return a skill you committed to this test to your hand. I think they mean return a skill card. You can undo it once per round, but that's quite a nice effect, because you could commit a, something like a Unexpected Courage, give yourself a boost of 2, say to your intellect, for example, to investigate, which will give you a 4. Then you pull a +1, you can actually bring that Unexpected Courage back to your hand. So that's a really nice effect, because it means you're not wasting cards on tests, where it's essentially wasted, because it's common in this game to over-egg the pudding, if you like. That's a normal way to play. You want to manage your risk. But it does mean that oftentimes then, particularly before any ghouls are out and skulls are 0, that you can overplay your hand and end up just sort of wasting cards. So that's a really nice skill to have. His Elder Sign effect looks terrible in the +0, because you think, oh my goodness, like he doesn't get anything. But however, you can commit a skill from your discard pile, so there's recursion here, and then you return it to your hand. So really, really lovely effect, because basically, whilst you're getting +0, if you can commit a skill card from your discard pile to the test, that's going to give you a boost, as long as you've got something in your discard pile. So having skill cards in your discard pile is not the end of the world, as long as, of course, you're pulling an Elder Sign, which, you can expect to do that maybe once or twice in a particular scenario. So again, that's allowing you to reuse skill cards. So any respectable Silas Marsh deck is going to have a ton of skill cards in it. And indeed, if we just flip over and have a look at the other side, usual deck size 30, interesting deck building options. Those survivor cards are level 0 to 5, neutral 0 to 5. And then he can take any innate skills level 0 to 2, which allows him to draw from every other discipline if it's got innates. So as you'll see in his deck, there's a number of those which make the deck really quite flexible in terms of drawing from those skills, which makes it really a nice and particularly interesting deck. Now, the Sea Change Harpoon, Silas's Net, we won't be using that, because the deck, as you'll see, contains the alternative weakness and strength. I'll just read out his little backstory. Silas Marsh has always felt called to the sea. As a young lad, he left his family in fear-shadowed Innsmouth and made a name for himself sailing the 7 seas. But after the death of his parents, the sea's call has only grown stronger. Silas has dreams, nightmares of pointed teeth grinning, webbed hands reaching, and eyes glowing in the darkness of the ocean depths. No one in his family is able to offer an explanation for his dreams, or at least no one is willing. So when desperate librarian Abigail Foreman comes to Silas with questions of her own, he cannot turn her away. Her ancient and mysterious tome, the Prophesi Profana, points to a stellar event foretelling the end of the world, and painted in its margins are the very same creatures that haunt Silas's nightmares. There we go. So, yes, there's Silas Marsh. Very interesting. I'm very much looking forward to playing him. If we just have a look at his deck for a second, we can see some of his cards here. So his signature skill card or his signature card is Nautical Prowess. It's got 3 icons on it, so it comes with a willpower and an intellect icon, which is nice given his weakness, and a wildcard icon. If a chaos token with a negative modifier is revealed during this test, you can draw a card, or the Nautical Prowess gains a double wildcard icon. Very nice. Dreams of the Deep is his signature weakness. Basically, it's a sort of inverse, if you like. It's a skill card that takes away from your skill test, but you still you don't want to keep it in your hand, and ideally you don't want to fail the skill test because it goes back into your hand. So it works thematically quite well from that perspective. We also got the Unspeakable Oath as our basic weakness. And then in terms of the other parts of the deck, like I said, they're more optimized than the Fantasy Flight Games ones. This one comes with a couple of very nice allies that you would expect in any kind of Survivor deck. We've got a Madame Lebranche, two Madame Lebranches, and also Peter Sylvester, which would make you an absolute monster from an evasion perspective, but nicely as well. Peter Sylvester allows you to manage horror a little bit better. Then the other thing is it also carries Dark Horse, which means you can get that onto the table. That means you can boost all of your stats, so that's a nice card to have. So a Dark Horse Madame Lebranche combo is nice, particularly with the Fire Axe, which is the only weapon in this deck. Got a couple of Fire Axes, and so they all work together quite nicely. So if you can get that combination of Dark Horse, Madame Lebranche, and the Fire Axe, you're doing pretty well. It also has these innate abilities from other disciplines. So Eureka from Seekers, Fearless from Mystics. We've got Opportunist from Rogues, and we've got Inspiring Presence from Guardians. So all of them have particular impacts and effects. So Eureka is a really nice card. Pass something and you get to draw another card. Fearless allows you to heal a horror, which is very welcome. Opportunist just gives you an extra wild card. Pip, which again, remember these are skill cards, so actually we can if we don't need them, we can bring them back to our hand if we so desire. And then Inspiring Presence allows us to heal damage and horror from an ally. So all very welcome. And then there's things like more skill cards, Not Without a Fight. There's Resourceful as well. Also, the other point is this one has Smoking Pipe in it, which allows you to take a damage and heal horror, which is a nice card to have. We've got plenty of we can take plenty of damage, but we can't take much horror. It's got some flashlights in it as well. So the biggest weakness, I think, with this deck is probably the fact that the only weapons in the whole thing are 2 Fire Axes, which means the chances of drawing a weapon are reasonably limited, I suppose. And the problem is for the Gathering is that with a 2 intellect, it's unlikely we're going to be in a position to get Lita Chandler on board, which means we really do need the Fire Axe, because without the Fire Axe, I think the Ghoul Priest will be a little bit challenging to deal with. So there we go. There's Silas's deck. Let's shuffle it up. That's enough of me gabbing on. I've done my 15 minutes of fame on gabbing on about these, about Silas. So yes, I did. I'll just go up here. Here's Silas at the moment. He's in the study, waiting to start. The final crowds are shuffling in to watch the investigator games. I tried to have a chat to him in the green room before we started, but he really wasn't interested in talking at all and just went straight into the study. So a man of very few words is our Silas. We can see we're up here in the... Let's shuffle up the encounter deck here. And I guess we're ready to start. So let's just read out the agenda in the act deck and we can get going. So Agenda 1A, what's going on? It's late at night and you're holed up in your study researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlour down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. And trapped. As you leap to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. 2 clues. Okay, so 2 clues, 3 doom, turn 1. I think we're all ready to go in the investigator games. So the horn goes, crowd goes wild. Silas just shambles around in the study, doesn't really respond to anybody. So let's shuffle up. Okay, so what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Well, as I said before, a fire axe. There's only 2 of them in the deck. So that's basically a 1 in 15 chance. So we want one of those. An ally, either Peter Sylvester or Madame Lebranche would be good. In fact, if we get a fire axe Lebranche and we can get Dark Horse, I'll be pretty happy because that's a pretty good combination to have. But we shall see. Other than that, a couple of the skill cards we need to be able to boost our intellect if we're going to find clues, and we're going to need the flashlight. So it'd be good to get a flashlight as well. That's probably more than 5 cards, but there you go. So let's see what we get. So we draw our 5 cards. So, okay, well, we can't keep Unspeakable Oath. That's a weakness. So we'll redraw that. Okay, so there we go. So this isn't too bad. So we've got a flashlight. So we're definitely keeping that because we're going to need that in the basement. And we've got both of our allies here. Which one do we go with? Because one heals horror, one's just a horror soak. This is really tough. I think at the beginning Peter Sylvester is better because we end up taking horror in the attic. It would be good to be able to heal some of that horror. Whereas with Madame Lebranche, Madame Lebranche, I always feel like if we'd drawn Dark Horse, then I would definitely be keeping Madame Lebranche, but we haven't. So I'm going to be pragmatic and keep Peter on board. Hopefully we'll draw Madame Lebranche a little bit later. The other thing I like about Peter is the passive skill boost, which gives us 5, which would allow us to much more easily evade if we need to. So I don't think Inspiring Presence is so necessary. Unexpected Courage is a good card to get in a Silas deck because we can recycle it. So I'm going to draw 2 more and see what we draw into. And we draw into the good old Cherished Keepsake, which is nice. An additional horror soak, that's good. An opportunist, so a good couple of skill cards. We've got a couple of skill cards. We've got the Cherished Keepsake, we've got Pete, and we've got the flashlight. So that's pretty good. The only thing we don't have, which I'm hoping we're going to draw into, is the fire axe. We really do need that. So not bad. The chances of us drawing the fire axe is sort of limited anyway. Some coffee. Okay. So I think we're ready to roll. What do we want? What do we want? We've done that. Okay, we're ready to roll. So I think first investigation, 3 actions. First action, I think this is going to be a setup phase. First action, we will spend 3. We'll bring out Pete. Big man on campus. There we go. Second action, I'm going to spend nothing and bring out the cherished keepsake. Bring out our teddy bear. So Silas has Pete with him, and Pete gives him a teddy bear. So he's got his teddy bear under his arm, so that's going to keep him... I don't think we need to bring out the flashlight yet. So with our third action, let's go ahead and use this new ability. Or do we keep that for the... well, let me see. No, the encounter is the next phase. So actually, why don't we give it a go? So we are a Shroud of 2. Yes, Shroud of 2. Let's chuck in... Let's just put it over here. We're going to chuck in the Unexpected Courage to give us a 4. Now, so this is an investigation. A 4 versus a 2. Chaos Bag gives us a 2. So it's a good job we did that. Now, if we'd drawn a 0 or a skull or something, we could have opted to bring Unexpected Courage back to our hand. As it is, though, we passed. So Unexpected Courage goes into our discard pile, and we get the clue. There we go. That's the first clue. Okay, so pretty good starting, pretty solid starting opening for Silas. Peter Sylvester turned up in the study, big man on campus. He's always popular. Crowd really cheered to see him. Pete Sylvester also brought along a teddy bear for Silas, he's cuddling the teddy bear as we speak, and the two of them went looking for a clue and found one. So all good in the first phase. So we can move into the next phase, which is the good old enema phase, the enemy phase, or the enema phase as I call it. There are of course no enemies to speak of. So we can move into upkeep, flip, take a resource, draw a card, and we draw into Dark Horse. Maybe I should have kept that in the branch. Anyway, so that's good because we can, we can bring out Dark Horse. The only thing about that is that we will need to front up for a flashlight, but we can do that later. So what we can do is we could take a resource when we're in the study during the upkeep phase, draw a resource on the first action, and then get the flashlight. So we can do that. But Dark Horse is really good because that's going to boost all of our stats. So we'll have a massive 6 evasion. Wow, which is great. Okay, so that's the end of the upkeep phase. Let's move into the inaugural Mythos phase. Let's pop up to the top here. Turn 2, first Doom. Dun, 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 dun. Let's shuffle up the encounter deck again. I always do this. I know I shuffle it anyway, but we'll shuffle it up again. And let's see what... Oh, it shuffled these as well. Which one is it? It's number 1, yeah. Okay, let's see what the encounter deck has for us. There's only 2 cards I really don't want to get, he says as he draws them, and that's Rotting Remains and Crypt Chill, because anything else I feel kind of okay with, but those 2 are a real problem. And we started with the Flesh Eater, which that's an interesting draw because the attic doesn't currently exist. Now I know that all the cards are out on the table, but as anyone who knows the Gathering would know, at the beginning you only start with the study. So if you draw the Flesh Eater or the Icy Ghoul, they literally get discarded, which in one way is good, but in the other way it's unfortunate because it's an extra victory point. So that's a victory point we could have gotten, but unfortunately we can't. So there we go. If you play Return to the Gathering, of course, or Return to the Night of the Zealot, things are a little bit different. It actually spawns the location instead, but not in the original, and we're playing the original here. Okay, so that's the end of the Mythos phase, so it's essentially a free pass in a way. Alright, so we'll move into the investigation phase. We have 3 actions. So what do we want to do here? What do we want to do? Well, I think first action, we will bring out the Dark Horse. Put Dark Horse. There's no tarot cards, so we'll just put it in the tarot position. So that gives us, as long as we have no resources, we get +1 on everything. So we are now a 3 intellect, which is very, very nice. Really great. So that's very strong. So let's go ahead and investigate again. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I am going to commit opportunist to this. So again, we're committing to a skill test. So that's that's a wild card. If you succeed by 3 or more, return it to your hand. Well, that would normally be the case, but we have our own ways of doing things. So that gives us a 2. With Dark Horse, that gives us a 3. That gives us a 4 versus a 2, so a -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a Skull. Now, a Skull is 0, which means we don't need Opportunist, so is a triggered ability, return a skill card, so we can return the Opportunist back to our hand, and we can just make it a 3 versus a 2, so we succeed. Very nice ability. Pity we can only use it once a turn. Sorry, once per round. So there we go. So we get the second clue. Very nice. Okay, so we played Dark Horse. We investigated. We could hang around in the study, but I think we don't. I think we spend the 2 clues. Get ourselves out of the study. So we'll pop up to here. Flip this over. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see a door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. Because you have such high agility, you do a double somersault with pike through the doorway, landing firmly on your feet on soft dirt. The door to your study slams shut above you, and the smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. So put the hallway, cellar, and attic into play, discard the enemies in the study, put her in the hallway, and remove the study from the game. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So we go into the hallway, flip the hallway, we can delete the study. It's gone. Yep. So like I said, normally you would put these out later, but don't want to bother doing that. So, and then we've got the barrier. A glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlour. As you move towards it, intense heat forces you to back away, picking up a handful of dirt. You toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or attic that can help. When the round ends, investigators in the hallway may as a group spend the requisite number of clues to advance. There we go. Okay, so we're in the hallway. We're going to take our third action to move up to the attic. La-di-da-di-da, up to the attic. Yep. And after we enter the attic, we take a horror. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to put that horror onto Pete. When does the horror heal? After your turn ends. Okay, so we put the horror onto Pete. That was our final action. Our turn ends, and so we heal the horror. So no biggie. Awesome. Okay, so that was a pretty good round, all in all. We Silas and Pete managed to find Silas, even though he's got the teddy bear, suddenly there's a gleam in his eye. He's a dark horse. They find the final clue. They find the door. They move into the hallway and then popped up to the attic. However, the sign of home renovations and haberdashery and the rotting carcass was just too much for Silas and, maybe for Peter anyway, someone. They took a horror but healed it, no doubt. So there we go. That was a pretty good round all in all. So next time we will focus on getting the clues up in the attic before we move down to the good old cellar. So that's the end of the investigation phase. We move into the enemy phase. No enemies, so we move into upkeep. So we'll flip these back over. We will not take a resource, but we will draw a card. And we draw into Inspiring Presence. So, yeah, healer damage and a horror. Just realised this is less useful for Pete because he heals a horror anyway. He's only got 1 strength, so this Inspiring Presence will work better with Madame Lebranche because I think she's 2/2, so you can, and she can't heal them. So, but in terms of icons, it's very nice. So it's a good card all round. Okay, that's the end of the upkeep phase. So all good. So let's move into the Mythos phase. Let's just pop up here. So we're in turn 3. 2 Doom, so this will pop over next time. We're making reasonable progress, to be honest. Things are going reasonably well. But that could all change now because the encounter deck gives us... Yes, Rotting Remains, of course it does. Okay, so this is a card we didn't want to get. This can be very nasty. So this is a test willpower of 3. We are a willpower of 3 because of Dark Horse. So 3 versus 3. I don't want to overcommit. I'll probably put the Opportunist in, I think. Yeah, let's put the Opportunist in. So that gives us a 4. A 4 versus a 3. Let's see how we go. 4 versus 3, and we get a tablet, which I don't quite remember what a tablet is. -2, is it? If there's a ghoul enemy, take a damage, but it's not. So it's -2, so that's not too bad. So that's 2, 3, 4. -2 gives us a 2 versus a 3, so we just take a horror. So we'll put that horror onto Pete, and he can no doubt heal that. So there we go. That could have been much worse. Now, we could have brought the Opportunist back. Do we do that? Because the Opportunist is quite good. Sorry, I've just thought about this, because then we would be a 3 versus a 1. I might do that. I might bring Opportunist back and put a horror onto the Cherished Keepsake. I just want to keep this card. So I think we'll do that instead. So that, yeah, I think we do that. All right. So just to reiterate, instead of making it a 2, 3, 4, and then making it a 2 versus 3, I brought back the Opportunist, so it became a 1 versus a 3. So we took 2 horror. Yep. Okay, there we go. Because I'd rather keep our skill cards. We've only got 3 cards in our hand. So, all right. Let's move into the investigatoring phase. And yes, now we've done that, so we can't do that again this turn. So we are a 3 intellect with Dark Horse. So I think we just straight up, it's a 1 here, so I think it's a -2 or better. So let's go ahead and just investigate. So the first one is we fail completely. We'll try again. We get a 0, that's good, and I'll just do it again. So that's the first clue, and we will do it again, and we get a -1, which is the second clue. So we get both clues. We can take those 2 clues. And that's really awesome, because that means we have gotten our first victory point. And the crowd goes wild. Awesome. Take these. Very nice. And put those 2 clues in here. Excellent. So that all went reasonably well. And then we can heal this horror from Pete. There we go. So that all went reasonably well. We investigated and failed miserably. Then we found 2 clues reasonably successfully. And we just healed a horror from Pete Sylvester. So all good, all good. Things are going well. So next time we get ourselves into the... So what I'll probably do is, just thinking about this, get ourselves into the attic. Probably take a resource, just risk it with a resource. And then we can then get a resource in upkeep, and then we can play our flashlight to find the clues down in the cellar. That's probably the plan of action next time. So there are no enemies to speak of, so we move into the upkeep phase. Back over. We're not going to take a resource, or are we going to take a resource? Let me think about this. If we take a resource now... No, not this time. Next time. So let's draw a card. And we draw the Smoking Pipe. Yes, the Smoking Pipe, which pretty good. I don't know that we need it at the moment, but nice thing to maybe bring out. But it has a willpower icon, which might be handy as well, particularly if we get another Rotting Remains. So it might be, rather than putting it out, it might be helpful with trying to avoid horror through Rotting Remains rather than healing. Anyway, so we'll move into the Mythos phase. Let's pop back up to here. So we're now in turn 4, 3 doom, so that means the agenda triggers. Here we go. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you've been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. Oh, there's my net. Arr, there's my trident. Arr, there's my ship in a bottle. There we go. The lead investigator must decide either we discard a card at random, no, or take 2 horror. Well, I think we're going to take the 2 horror. Yes. So what we can do is we can take the 2 horror. We'll put 1 horror onto Pete, and we'll get rid of the cherished keepsake. That's gone. There we go. So that's another couple of horror. So there we go. Awesome. Okay, and we will just pop back up to here. We are now in Rise of the Ghouls. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up. You probably don't want to be here when they do. Indeed. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, we just have to draw from the encounter deck. It always feels when you go through that you've done everything, but of course you do need to draw from the encounter deck, and we get Ancient Evils. Of course we do. So that's that means the next agenda is off to a flying start. Ah, dear. Okay. All right. So that's the end of the Mythos phase. So we are now in the Investigatoring phase. Okay. So let's pop up to here. So we're going to move down to the cellar. Blonk, blonk, blonk. That's 2 actions. Now, as we're going down to the cellar, we are so busy messing around with our flashlight, smoking pipe, that we drop the flashlight. We try to retrieve it. We slip and go tumbling down the stairs. Ouch! And we take a damage. Full Shroud, 2 clue location. So that was 2 actions to get there. There we go. Yeah. Now we've got a choice here. We can either draw a resource, which means Dark Horse is nullified, or we don't, and that means then we need to spend 2 resources, basically losing 2 turns. No, 1 turn, sorry, because we'll get 2 turns. I'm actually feeling that we risk it for a biscuit, and for our final action we take a resource so that we're ready to play the flashlight next time. End of our turn, so Peter Sylvester heals his horror. Very nice. Okay, so we're through the investor. That was a pretty standard. We just moved into the cellar. We took damage, which I forgot to add. It's always good to review what you've done, and that was it. And then we basically took a resource, so we're ready to bring out the flashlight next time to investigate down in the cellar. No fire axe, I've noticed. No fire axe. All right. Yes, there are no enemies to speak of, so we move into the upkeep phase. Here we go. We flip these over. Take another resource. We will draw a card, and we draw into our weakness. Don't know this weakness very well. Let's have a look. Unspeakable Oath. Campaign mode only. Peril and hidden. Secretly add this card to your hand. Shh. Don't tell anybody. When the game ends, or you're eliminated, if this card is in your hand, you earn 2 fewer experience points. After you successfully investigate a location with no clues on it, discard this card from your hand. Okay. All right. I guess we will be doing that then. So that basically just will tax us. We'll have the flashlight. So hopefully we should be able to do that. Otherwise, let me have a look here. The hallway is only a 1 shroud, so we could actually do it in the hallway as well. We can investigate the hallway even though there's no clues. It's only a 1 shroud, so that should be fairly easy to do. That's not too bad. Okay. But the problem is we've just drawn a crap card, basically. So there you go. Time for some coffee. Okie dokie, that's the end of the upkeep phase. So we move into the... Hello? We move into the Mythos phase. Turn 5. 2 Doom. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And the encounter deck has for us, yes, Grasping Hands, which is no big deal. This is the opposite of Rotting Remains. So this is test 3. We're at a 5. I don't want to commit cards to this in the hope of bringing them back because I want to keep that for the seller. So we're a 5 versus a 3, so we're a -2 or better. Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. Wow! So we pass it, but also because it's an Elder Sign, you can commit. You may commit. Hold on. You may commit a skill from your discard pile to this test. After the test ends, return the skill to your hand instead of discarding it. So we should have read that because we would have put in the Unexpected Courage. And then that Unexpected Courage goes back to our hand. Very nice. I think I've read that right. You may commit a skill from your discard pile, yes, to this test. After the test ends, return that skill to your hand instead of discarding it, which is what we did. Okay, cool. Nice. Well, that's a nice little positive to get the Unexpected Courage back. Lovely. Okay. All right, so that's the Mythos phase. So we move into the Investigatoring phase. So we will spend our 2 and we will bring out the flashlight. 3 actions. So now it is time to investigate the cellar. Whoops. Which is a 4 shroud location. 2 clues. Okay. So we are a 3 with Dark Horse. So we're a 3, so we're at -1. But however, if we use the flashlight, that reduces it to a 2 versus a 3. Let's use our Unexpected Courage. So that gives us a 5, isn't it? 2, 3, 5. 5 versus 2. 5 versus 2. So 5 versus 2 is a -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -2. So now let me think about this. This is so it's -2. Our base value is 3 versus 2. So we can't bring back Unexpected Courage. So we do lose Unexpected Courage and we pass the test. Yeah, a bit of maths going on. I can see sometimes in Silas decks people have little calculators because of that very reason. So there we go. All right, so that's our first action. Our second action is we will investigate again using the flashlight. And this time we will commit Opportunist to it. So that gives us a 2, 3, 4. 4 versus 2, -2 or better. We get a -1. Now, do we need... I don't think we need Opportunist in this case because 2, 3... Yeah, so we can bring Opportunist back to our hand and we'll pass that test. Very nice. But we can't use that again. We've done that. Okay. Okay. So that means that we've fully investigated the cellar. Crag goes wild. Fantastic. So we will put that in the victory display. Right. Now, what we're going to do now is we've got one action left. We do need to investigate to get rid of the unspeakable oath. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop up to the hallway, because that's an easier location to investigate. We can literally, with the flashlight, reduce it to 0, so we can only fail it on an auto fail. So that's a no-brainer. Okay, so there we go. So that was a pretty good round. We managed to successfully get all of the clues. We both of the victory points. So we are now in a position to at least prepare to take on the Ghoul Priest. My main concern is we don't have a weapon, which is a problem, because then we're kind of evading the Ghoul Priest with... Yeah, we can evade the Ghoul Priest, and then we can kind of try and hit him, which will be for 3, maybe for 4. But really, we either need a weapon or we need Lita Chandler. The problem with Lita Chandler is we're a 3-5. We'd have to be committing quite a bit to get Lita Chandler on board. But we kind of got to do one or the other, so we need to draw a few more cards, and hopefully we will draw into a fire axe. So that's the end of the investigation phase. So we move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. It's been a fairly enemy-light scenario, he says. So we'll flip our tokens here. We won't take a resource, but of course we will draw a card. We've got both of our weaknesses. So we do need to deal with these. Yeah, we're going to need to deal with these. That's all right. We can do that. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, but it's better to get them out of the way now than have to try and deal with them when the Ghoul Priest arrives. But it's just more things that we've got to do that's going to slow us down, essentially. So we'll move into the Mythos phase. Pop up to here. Turn 6, 3 Doom. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. Obscuring fog. Okay. Of all the times to get an obscuring fog. Oh boy. So that's going to make this a 3 shroud location. So the question is, I think we're better off going up to the attic now. Oh boy. Anyway, never mind. That's really annoying. Really annoying. But anyway, there's no huge hurry at the moment. So there we go. Let's move into the investigation phase. First thing we are going to do is we are going to move up to the attic again. It's not something we normally do. We take a horror, but we'll just put it onto Peter. So we're in the attic. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to investigate the attic. It is a 1 shroud location. So we're going to use the flashlight to reduce it to 0. So it's now a 0 location. This is to get rid of the unspeakable oath. Now, Dreams of the Deep, we want to bring this out. So that gives so we are currently a 2, 3 intellect, but with Dreams of the Deep, that reduces it down to 1. 1 intellect, but however it's a 1 versus a 0 shroud location, so as long as we don't get auto fail, we've passed anyway, so it's all good. So let's flip this over. So as long as we don't get auto fail, we get a -1. That means we go down to 0. The location is 0 because of flashlight, so we pass, which means we've been successful. So we can get rid of Dreams of the Deep. So that's good. That's gone. And we can also get rid of this, successfully discard this card from your hands. So there we go, we've gotten rid of all of our nasty cards in one foul swoop. Very nice. Thank you, flashlight, because without the flashlight, that wouldn't have worked, I don't think. Okay, so we've got one action left. Now we know that the ghoul that pops up here isn't going to pop up here, so we might as well stay here for now. So I think what we need to do now is probably start drawing in some cards. All of our weaknesses have gone, so we can do that with abandon. So let's draw a card. We get a lucky, nice card, but we really want to draw a few more to see whether we can get the fire axe, because that's what we really need. End of our turn, we can heal the horror from Pete. So we're all good. So we can move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So we move into upkeep. Flip the tokens. No, we don't take a resource. We draw another card. We draw into another Pete Sylvester. Where are our fire axes? I don't know. This is feeling like we might be in a better position to bring on Lita Chandler, because we get +1 fight, which would give us a 4, a 5, a 6 with Lita Chandler, and then we would do 2 damage, which is quite respectable. So we can easily evade the Ghoul Priest. So I'm thinking we move back to the hallway, we draw another couple of cards. If we don't get a fire axe, then I think we go down with lucky and things, we should be fine getting Lita Chandler on board, I think. So, all good. All right, that's the end of the upkeep phase. So we move into the good old Mythos phase. Let's shift up to the part. Okay, we're in turn 7. 4th Doom down. Let's see what the good old encounter deck has for us. And it has another Grasping Hands. No big deal. So we are a 5, 6. We're a 6 versus a 3. We're a 6 versus a 3. Do we make it a 7 versus a 3 and see what? Because we're gonna. Don't think we're gonna use it. No, we aren't. So let's just put out the opportunist to make it a. Do we need to? Let's make it. So the only thing we're doing is in case we get a -4. So 7 versus a 3. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we will pull back the opportunist. We don't need to. In fact, I don't think we need to even pull back the opportunist. We can probably, if you succeed by 3 or more, 4, 5, 6, 7. We did, so we actually get it back anyway. So we get it back anyway. So all good. All right. Okay. Easy. So we'll move into the investigation phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move back down into the hallway. So we're ready. It's first action. Second action, I'm going to draw a card. Resourceful. Have we got anything in our hand for that? Not at the moment. No. Okay. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think we just draw another card, and then all we need for, I think Lita Chandler is looking likely. Then all we need really is 1 resource so that we can play lucky. So let's draw another card. So final thing, we'll draw a card. And what do we draw into? We draw into Not Without a Fight. Nice time to get Not Without a Fight. Yes, good. Okay, nice. This is feeling very Lita Chandler-y. Okay, awesome. So that's the investigation phase done. So basically all we did was move and draw a couple of cards, and we drew into Resourceful and Not Without a Fight. So lots of skill cards. Things are looking good. I'm feeling pretty confident here. So if we move into the enemy phase, there are no enemies to speak of. So we move into the upkeep phase. Flip these over. Do we take a resource? No, we don't take a resource. We take a resource when we need to take a resource. We don't need to take a resource at the moment. But we will draw a card. And we draw into Unexpected Courage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 cards. No fire axes. It is definitely going to be a Lita Chandler situation, which, yes, we will lose Pete, but we will gain Lita. And with Dark Horse, we're going to be a monster in terms of fighting the Ghoul Priest. So I think it's the end of the upkeep phase. We can throw in our 3 clues. 2, 3. So we'll pop up to here. That's not right. Just played a game recently where we it's easier to do in Tabletop Simulator. Is you can accidentally flip 2 cards, and we thought we'd finish the scenario. Okay, here we go. Using the barrel from the attic, you carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders, consumes the ice, and then hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking the passage into the parlour has vanished. Reveal the parlour, put the set-aside Lita Chandler into play, and spawn the Ghoul Priest in the hallway. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's get Lita out of here. There's Lita. Let's bring these 2 down to here. So we can reveal the parlour. Let's flip those back. So Lita sits in here. Oh, hello, Silas. Oh, you're looking very nice. Oh, is that a harpoon? Oh, I do like a man with a harpoon. Ooh, why don't you come and say hi to me? I think we can take on this Ghoul Priest. What do you think? I think we can, yes. Let's bring the pain. And, Ghoul Priest is in our threat area. Hello, Silas. Hello, Peter. Is that a dark horse you've got in your head? Oh, dear. Now, listen, Silas. I might have said some unkind things about waterways in the past. I didn't mean them. I quite like boats. I've always thought of sailing as a hobby I could do when I retire. Why don't we just have a chat about it? So there we go. There's the Ghoul Priest. We're all ready to go in upkeep. There we are. So we will move into the Mythos phase. So we'll shift up to here. We're in turn 8. 5 Doom. Let's see what the encounter deck gives us. The encounter deck gives us... Rotting Remains. All right. Okay. This isn't too bad, actually. I think we're fine. Okay, so what we're going to do here is... we are a 3 versus 3, I think, with Rotting Remains. Yeah, 3 versus 3. Let's chuck in the Smoking Pipe. Oh. And any other... And do we need... And we won't need Peter Sylvester, so let's just throw in those 2. They're not skill cards, but it doesn't matter. I want to keep all my skill cards for other things. So that gives us +2. So that gives us a 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 versus 3. I just don't want... I think we should be fine. 5 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, and we're perfectly fine. So we avoid Rotting Remains. Okay, so that's the end of the Mythos phase. We are now here in the investigation phase. Now, we don't have a fire axe, so the problem is that if we fight the Ghoul Priest, we are literally doing 1 damage each time. It's not that we can't fight him easily, because we've got a base of 5 fight with Dark Horse, but the problem is that we're not doing multiple damage. That's why we need Lita Chandler. If we had the fire axe, we'd be going for it, but we don't. So So the first action is to evade the Ghoul Priest. So we are a 4, 5, 6. A 6 versus a 4. A 6 versus a 4. I don't think resourceful is helpful at this time because we don't want Peter Sylvester back. So I don't really want to commit. Well, the cherished keepsake is not really what we want at the moment. We're a 4. What are we? A 4, 5, 6. A 6 versus a 4. So a -2 or better. Let's just put in opportunist. So that gives us a 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 4. So we're a -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we successful. Oh, it's only a 0. We were a 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 versus 4. So with a 0, we succeeded by 3 or more. So we can bring it back to our hand again. Very nice. And then the Ghoul Priest is evaded. Where's he gone? Silas, come back. I want to talk about knots and sails and shit. And then we Ghoul Priest is evaded. So that's our first action. Our second action is to pop into the parlour. All right. So that was our second action, is to pop into parlour. Now, we didn't use our skill to bring skill card back to our hand because opportunist, because we did it by 3 or more. But our third action will be to parley with... No, it won't. Because I don't want to fail. Do we need lucky? Let me think about this. So at the moment we are a 2. We're a 3 with Dark Horse. And she is, and we've got to test, I think, 4, isn't it? It's a test 4. So we would need to throw in unexpected courage. So we would be a 2, a 3, 4, 5, 6. We can make that a 7. A 7 versus a 4. It's just without... We can make it an 8 versus a 4, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty... If we fail, though... But with 8 versus 4, the only thing is an auto-fail. So let's just go ahead and do it, because I think we'll be fine then. And we can bring the card back. So let's do it. So we're a 2, we're a 3. So unexpected courage... 4, 5, opportunist 6, inspiring presence 7, resourceful 8. So that's an 8 versus a 4. That's right, isn't it? 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. 5, 6, yeah, 8. 8 versus 4. So a -4 or better. Basically, as long as we don't auto-fail, we are fine. Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign. Okay, a couple of things here. So 8 versus 4, we've completely nailed it. So the first thing we can do is, as a response to that, we can take a skill card back. Oh, this is a whole lot of things. So let me think about this. We can take a skill card back because we don't need that. So that gives us a 6 versus a 4. Yep, that's the first thing. But that means we wouldn't succeed by 6 or more, because by 3 or more with a 6 versus a 4. But that's fine. Oh, well, that means we could... is a double unexpected. That's probably better. An unexpected courage is probably better than a... what's happened to our... Oh, it's there. Let me think about this. So we could take the... So we could leave the unexpected courage in, take in the opportunist and maybe the inspiring presence, which has a fight pip. But then the unexpected courage is a double fight pip. So I think I'm fine with that. So we do that. Because we succeeded, if the skill test is successful, choose a card not named resource in your discard pile and add that to your hand. So we could take the Cherished Keepsake, or we could take Peter Sylvester. I don't think it really matters. Maybe we take the Cherished Keepsake. We'll put that back into our hand. So that's nice. So these cards then all go in here. Okay, because we've succeeded by 2. And then, because of our Elder Sign effect, you can commit a skill from your discard pile to this test. There wasn't any, though, I don't think. I don't think there was any. Oh, yes, there was. There was an unexpected courage, wasn't there? So we could have committed a skill, an unexpected courage to the test. And that means that then after it ends, you can return that to your hand instead. Wow, okay. So that was a whole lot of effects that happened. So basically, we succeeded by 4 or more. So what we did was we brought back unexpected courage into our hand. Then, which means we succeeded by 2. Then what we did with resourceful is we got the Cherished Keepsake back. And then because we got an Elder Sign, we could commit another unexpected courage, which was in our discard pile. And then which brought it back up to 8 again. And then we could keep that. Now, it might have meant that we're supposed to be able to keep Opportunist, because if this Elder Sign allows us to commit a skill from your discard pile to the test, then we would have succeeded by 4 or more. So I don't know whether we would return that to our hand, which I assume we would, because then... I'm going to assume we don't. I don't know what the orders would have been, but that was all getting a bit janky there. I'm not sure. But anyway, I think that's a pretty good outcome. And after all that, we get Lita Chandler on board, which means Peter Sylvester is gone. Just put it there. So I don't know whether maybe someone can tell me whether I should have gotten... whether I should have then retained Opportunist. I get the feeling I probably should have, because with the Elder Sign effect, I would have brought an unexpected courage into, which would have added +2, and then I would have performed by 3 or more. But I'm going to I think you probably can. I am going to assume you can, actually, because it makes sense. So that was, as you can see, that was a whole lot of stuff that happened from all that commitment. So we got stuff back. We got a whole lot of things back as a consequence. So that was amazing. Wow. Okay, so we've got Lita Chandler on board now. We've got Dark Horse. So Lita Chandler gives us... So we are now fighting with a base fight of 6. And we do +1 damage, so we can pretty much we can take on the Ghoul Priest, no worries. Probably good to have the Cherished Keepsake in place, just to make sure we're as robust as we can, because the Ghoul Priest does have Retaliate. So we move into the enemy phase. The enemy is evaded, of course. We evaded the Ghoul Priest. That's very nice. So we can move into the Upkeep Phase. We will flip these. Do we take a resource? No, I don't think we do take a resource, but we do draw a card. And we draw in 2 Fearless. Very nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. So we move into the Mythos phase. That seems like a million years ago, but we're in turn 9. 6 Doom, so this will kick over next time. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. And it's got Obscuring Fog, whatevs. That's no big deal. We will just stick that under the parlour. Sorry, and the Ghoul Priest should have readied. Here in the hallway. Yep. Okay. So we move into the investigation phase. So this is where things are slightly tricky because we can move back into the hallway. I'm thinking we move into the hallway, we evade the Ghoul Priest and do a hit on him. I think that's probably the thing to do. I think. So, yeah, we will move back into the hallway and we will evade the Ghoul Priest. So the Ghoul Priest is an evasion of... He has an agility of 4. I don't want to bring him down because I'm going to probably evade him. Yes. So he's got a 4 agility and we are running at a 5 agility. So I think we make that a 7. So 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. I'm going to bring that back to my hand because we don't need it, do we? 5. No, we don't need it. So I'll bring the Unexpected Courage back to my hand. And we evade the Ghoul Priest. We're here. So we moved, we evaded. Now we're going to hit him. Going to do a hit on him, so our final action will be to hit him. So we are a 4, 5, 6, a 6 versus a 4. Let's make that an 8 versus a 4. -4 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. We lose the Unexpected Courage. We can't do that again. So we do 2 points of damage to him.
Ow, where are you? Where did that come from? Are you poking me with that bloody trident in my ass again?
There we go. So we'll put 2 on the 2 damage on the Ghoul Priest. There we go. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. The enemy is exhausted, but we move into Upkeep. So we will flip these over again. We don't take a damage, but we will draw a card, and we don't take a resource. Sorry, we draw another Feelers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And of course, the Ghoul Priest is engaged with us again.
There you are, you little bastard.
Okay, there we go. So he's back on us. Okay. Right. That's the end of the Upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase, I think. Yes, this is turn 10. So this is flipped. Oops. So we'll flip this over. A feral beast, roughly humanoid with a canine cast and hooves for feet, tears through the ground in front of you. Below the floor, you can see vast tunnels beneath your house. Fiendish howling echoes from deep within the underground caverns. Shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. Discard cards from the top of the deck until a ghoul enemy is discarded and the lead investigator draws that enemy. Nope. 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 Yes. Flesh Eater is back. A bit of a dilemma here because the Flesh Eater is back. We could before we do that, let's just finish that. So draws that card. Okay, so that's done. And we are in they're getting out. You hear a crazed howl outside, and suddenly all the creatures turn their attention to that sound. They rush to escape the house, breaking down doors and clawing at everything in their way. At the end of the enemy phase, each unengaged ghoul enemy moves one location towards the parlour. At the end of the round, place one doom on this agenda for each ghoul enemy in the hallway or parlour. Now, this is a bit of a dilemma, because what we could do is, we're currently engaged with the Ghoul Priest, but what we could do is we could evade the Ghoul Priest, we could pop up to the attic, we could look to kill the Flesh Eater and get the extra victory point. Because after all, it is the Investigator games. Is he a monster? Yes, he is. So we could do that. Or we could simply just kill the Ghoul Priest. But I think it might be worthwhile, because we're a 4-5 fight. What's he, though? He's probably he's a 4 fight. But we can evade him, but then the Ghoul Priest will pop up and we'll take horror, and then the Ghoul Priest will pop up and attack us. Ooh, because we could finish off the Ghoul Priest this time. And the problem is we'd have to evade the Ghoul Priest. Then we would have to move up to the attic. Then we would have to evade the Flesh Eater. Then we wouldn't get a chance to hit him. Then next time we would... next time we would probably... What we would do is we would look to kill the Flesh Eater. And then we would probably bring out the Cherished Keepsake, so when the Ghoul Priest moves up to get us, we take the 2 horror through the Cherished Keepsake. And then we would look to finish off the Ghoul Priest. Oof. But the problem with all that is, if we had lots and lots of fight cards in our hand, which we don't, I mean, we're fighting at 6. We're fighting at 6, aren't we, with Lita Chandler? So it's actually not too bad. I think we should go for the extra victory point, because then it's going to put us higher up the table. So I think what we're going to do is, why not? Let's go investigation phase. First action is we're going to evade the Ghoul Priest. 4, 5, 5 versus 4. 7 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we'll bring that back to our hand, and we will evade the Ghoul Priest.
Have you gone again? Oh!
So we'll evade the Ghoul Priest. This is a bit of fun. So the Ghoul Priest is evaded. Then we will move up to the attic. We take a horror for that. We'll put the horror onto Lita. Yep. And then we will evade the Flesh Eater. So a 1 versus a 5. We'll just straight up evade him. And we easily do. So we evade the Flesh Eater. So next time we'll kill the Flesh Eater. That will be our plan. And then we can... Yep. So that's the end of our turn. So I know that this is a less safe option, but to be honest, I think we've got a good chance of doing this. Okay. So that's our action. So we evaded the Ghoul Priest, we moved up, and then we evaded the Flesh Eater. All the enemies are exhausted. Let me just double check here. At the end of the enemy phase, each unengaged ghoul enemy, well, they can't because they're exhausted. They can't, so they don't move anywhere. And then what's the next one? Sorry, the next one is at the end of the round. 1 doom for each ghoul enemy in the hallway. Okay. All right, so let's move into the Upkeep Phase. So Upkeep Phase, flip these over. Do we take I think we just take a card. What do we get? Oh, we get another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got an Opportunist. Now, both of these ghouls ready. So he's re-engaged with us, the Flesh Eater. The Ghoul Priest is also active. He's in the hallway. So the Flesh Eater is now engaged with us. Okay, that's the end of the upkeep phase. So we move into now at the end of the turn, one doom goes down because there's the Ghoul Priest in the, and then we move into the Mythos phase. So another doom goes down. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us. Encounter deck has that's not a good time to get frozen in fear. Maybe this was a mistake after all. But anyway, okay, so we got a frozen in fear. I tell you what, we've got lots of fearless, so I think we're fine. I think we'll be fine with this. No big deal. Okay, so we will move into the investigation phase. So what we're going to do here is we are going to fight the Flesh Eater. So fight of 4, and we are a 6. So a 6 versus a 4. Now we only get, the first one's going to take 2 actions. 6 versus a 4. Let's commit the unexpected courage. So that's that gives us an 8. An 8 versus a 4. So this is going to take 2 actions because we're frozen in fear. 8 versus 4. It's a -2, so I'm going to pull that back to our hand. So we're still a 6 versus a 4, and we do 2 points of damage to the Flesh Eater. Yep. Then for our second action, we will do it again. We will fight, and we need to do this. So we will do another 8 versus a 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a, I think that's a -2, so we succeed. We didn't fail. That's a -1. We didn't fail. Sorry, my tabletop simulator is getting a bit janky here. So we do 4 points of damage to the Flesh Eater, and the Flesh Eater is in the victory display. Crowd goes wild. We are literally punching and bashing these ghouls. Okay, so that's the end of our turn. So that was pretty good. The end of our turn, we can test for this. So the unexpected courage gets lost, I'm afraid. So it's a 3, and we are a 3. But I'm going to throw in these fearlesses, 4 and 5. So that gives us a 5 versus a 3. In fact, I'm going to make it a 6 versus a 3. I'm going to make it a 6 versus a 3. -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, so we succeed. Get rid of Frozen in Fear. These all go into the discard. I don't think heal a horror. That's heal our own horror? Or can we heal the horror from a Lita Chandler? Oh, I better just check that. Fearless. Sorry. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's your own horror. Okay. So that's the end of the investigation phase. So we move into the enemy phase, which means that the Ghoul Priest actually moves here into the attic and does 2 horror and 2 damage to us. So we'll put a horror onto Lita Chandler. We will take a horror, and we will take the 2 damage. Actually, we don't need those 2. We can just make it a 2. Okay. So as long as there's not too much retaliate, I mean, we threw in our cherished keepsake, so I'm assuming everything's going to be okay. So we move into the upkeep phase. Now, at the end of the each unengaged ghoul enemy was, well, that happened anyway, so that's fine. So we move into the upkeep phase. We'll flip these over. Whoops. We will not take a resource, but we will draw a card. And we draw into another dark horse. Well, if we need, I suppose if there's something like a crypt, even crypt chill's not really worth it. So there we go. All right, end of upkeep phase. I think you add an extra doom if for each ghoul in the hallway or the parlour, which there are none. We're up in the attic. I don't think it's ever happened that we're actually fighting up in the attic. And I should move the Ghoul Priest into our area. There we go. So we move into the Mythos phase. Turn 11, 3 doom. Let's see what the old encounter deck has for us. Rotting Remains. Oh man, not Rotting Remains. Bloody hell. Alright, well, we are a 2. We are a 3. We can make that a 4 with Dark Horse. 4. Probably make that a 5 with Opportunist. A 5 versus a 3. Let's see how we go. -2. Yep. So we succeed. However, I'm going to bring the Opportunist back. So we fail by 1. So we are a 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so we fail by 1. So we take a horror. I just want to keep... I want to keep some of the... yes, I want to keep some of those cards. Okay. Our horror's getting a little bit on the shaky side. But anyway. So we will move into the investigation phase. So it's now time to fight. So here we go. So we're going to fight the Ghoul Priest. We are a 4, 5, 6. A 6 versus a 4. Let's chuck in this not without a fight. Oh, sorry, my tabletop simulator is getting very janky all of a sudden. So commit to a skill test. You get... Okay, so we get a double fight. So we're 4, 5, 6, 8. 8 versus 4. This is our first one, so as long as we don't auto-fail. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. So that's at 4 points of damage. We can't bring that back. We did that with the Opportunist. And then for our second action, we will throw in 2 Opportunists. I don't see why we can't. Yeah, so that's 2. So that's a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, and an 8. An 8 versus 4. This is to kill the Ghoul Priest and finish the game. A hush descends as Lita and Silas go in for the super punch. And yes, we succeed! Woo-hoo! So there we go. 2, let me just check. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. We do another 2 points of damage. The Ghoul Priest goes down. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic outcome for Silas. So we ended up with 7 experience. We ended up with all of the victory points. So the 4 plus another victory point for the Flesh Eater, which is definitely going to put Silas up there in the table. It wasn't the fastest, but it was definitely better than most. So he'll be in the top echelons of the table with 7 experience points. So that was a fantastic outcome. His horror was getting a little bit on the high side towards the end, but we can see how being able to bring skill cards back to your hand is really fantastic. That play where we got Lita Chandler on board when we committed a bunch of skill cards, which triggered a whole lot of effects, which we ended up with a whole lot of skill cards back, really did make a huge difference. So that was a fantastic outcome for Silas. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Next time we will take Norman Withers through the gathering, and then once we've done Norman Withers, we can move forward with the Midnight Masks once again. We're about, I don't know, a third of the way through in terms of the investigators for the Midnight Masks. So, but until then, I'm Krabby Terror 8. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.